Hello, Yogi Jon. It's so great to be back with you again this week. We've had 3 vlogs together so far. All have been really interesting vlogs. And this week's vlog is about yoga and mental health. And as we had mentioned in our last week's vlog, the pandemic has definitely created so much stress in so many different ways for people. There's financial stress, emotional stress, physical stress people are facing with regards to being sick for themselves. So, talk about how yoga can really help people deal with all this stress in the world today. Can it really help? And how?
Well, first off, thank you for having me again today, and I hope you've been well. Yoga it's really great thing about it is that it can relieve stress. It can release physical stress. If you're out of shape and just climbing the stairs exhausts you, it can help build the strength and the stamina to be able to hop up those stairs. Doesn't matter how old you are or how unfit you are, there is baby steps within yoga that can take you from not climbing stairs to climbing mountains. As far as stress is concerned, pranayama is probably one of the best forms for helping relieve stress, emotional and mental stress. I know my father died recently, and I personally don't like crying. It hurts my eyes, it's uncomfortable, I don't really like doing it. And so when I would start to swell up with the tears that, my father just died, I close my eyes and take a long, slow, deep breath. And when I exhale, I blow all that tension and stress out, and the tears would go away. 5 minutes later, I might have to do it again, but in time, you get to where you don't have to do it as often because this too shall pass. That's actually a real favorite quote of mine. I taught it to my daughter when she was young and having problems being in and out of the hospital. What you're feeling now, it's only temporary. Everything changes constantly. And so this too shall pass. It will give way to something else greater, hopefully. But always accept where you're at and what you're doing and work towards bettering it. Keep a positive outlook and don't dwell on the negative things in your life, and it will remove stress in abundance from your life and will create joy and happiness in abundance within your life.
Wow, that's a lot of information. Thank you. So you talked about breath as being a great way to help reduce really internal emotional stress. Can you share a little bit about what breath does in your body?
Well, it is, in yoga, they call it pranayama, breath work. There's many different ways that you can breathe. When a baby is born, they do the belly breath. Their belly rises and falls with each breath, and they take long, deep breaths. They really fill their lungs full. As we get older, we get lazy about it. We don't do a whole lot. We don't think about it, and we start breathing more in our chest. We never breathe all the way down into our lungs. This reduces the amount of prana, the life force, the oxygen within your bloodstream. When doing yoga, they tell you if you are tense in an area to think of that area as you inhale and release that tension as you exhale, and you'll find yourself going deeper into the posture just by following your breath. But like I said earlier, there's many different forms. One of my favorite was the box breath, where you breathe in for a count of 4, 5, 10, whatever your breath length is, And then you hold your breath for that same number. And then you exhale for that same number again. And you hold no breath for that same number. The spirituality aspect of it, they have a saying that when you breathe in, God comes to you. When you hold, God enters you. When you exhale, God leaves you. And when you hold no breath, you surrender to God. Him granting you the next breath. And you continue through the breathing cycle. Another one that I practice is the yogic breath. I try to practice it all day long. It is my breath of choice, where you breathe in, your belly pushes out. When you exhale, you squeeze the abdominal muscles in and push the air out. As you breathe in deeper and deeper into your lungs, your chest will rise and your shoulders will shift. And then the reverse will happen. The shoulders will come down. The chest will draw in. You squeeze those abdominals. And you breathe deep and full. It helps keep you calm.
That's great. I would imagine it has some physical benefits too, in terms of reducing blood pressure to some degree if somebody is, having anxiety.
I myself have never tried it. One of my first teachers, Dale Morphew, he said, well, he had heart issues, and he told me that he could drop his blood pressure by 30 points by doing breath work. Or if you're doing a different breath work, you could actually raise your blood pressure by that same 30 points. So I've never actually tried it, never seen the need.
Wow, amazing. Well, that could definitely have an impact on somebody's mental well-being for sure, to just be able to breathe right. It seems so easy, but yet so difficult. And I don't understand why we all have such a hard time with it, including myself, but it's good to be reminded. Tell me, I know you've done a lot of yoga teachings throughout your yoga career. Can you share an example of an individual who has benefited from yoga? I mean, not necessarily from you specifically, but just because they were engaged with yoga and they really practice yoga. How did they benefit from the overall practice of it?
Well, Gandhi had a gallbladder operation using no medications at all. He went into a meditative state and they cut him open and removed his gallbladder and stitched him back up, and through meditation he rehabbed himself afterwards and was back on his feet in no time at all. Whereas nowadays you're in the hospital for at least a week, waiting to go to the restroom again.
And Gandhi, I would say, was a bit of an extraordinary individual.
Oh, Mahatma, he was the great one.
Anybody else? Maybe somebody like me that's just an average person?
Well, it helped me. I got rid of osteoporosis through the use of yoga. I've also gotten rid of a lot of bad habits through the use of yoga. I had a friend who couldn't sit with his legs crossed, and after a few months of working out with me, he was sitting in lotus pose, by loosening and opening the hips. He is also a survivor of lymphoma, and I believe that it has helped him to heal and grow and keep the cancer in remission.
Wow, that's amazing. So, last question that I'll ask for this session. What would you tell the audience? What would you tell a stranger about how yoga can help them?
Well, first off, I'd have to know what ails the stranger. Oftentimes in the beginning of a class, I will ask if anybody has any issues, and then I will work towards remedying them. But I really have to know what ails them. I can guarantee you yoga will help. Everybody has stress, and yoga relieves that stress. It increases physical strength, which makes you feel better. That releases endorphins, giving you senses of well-being and joy. And the breath work helps remove other tensions and keeps your body blood oxygenated, which helps for better cell growth, overall health and well-being, and mental health and well-being.
That's beautiful. So I would say to the audience that yoga seems to be a silver bullet in terms of a healing instrument that we can all do a better job of learning.
I say if you start practicing it early in life, before you get lots of injuries, you will remain healthy for your entire life. Whatever length it may be, you will be in pristine fitness and shape and well-being.
Amazing. Well, we'd like to learn a little bit more about yoga asanas and yoga practices like hatha yoga and Bikram yoga. So I think perhaps with our next session, what do you think about us talking with you, Yogi Jon, to learn more about those different types of yogas?
I guess we can work on that.
Beautiful. All right, for those that are still watching, thank you again for joining, and we will see you next week for more learnings about Bikram, hatha yoga, and various other yoga practices.